From Relay, this is Upgrade, episode 573 for July 21st, 2025. My name is Myke Hurley. I'm joined by Jason Snell. Hi, Jason Snell.
Hi, Myke Hurley. Happy Summer of Fun to you.
Summer of Fun!
Summer of Fun!
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, Ecamm, and Delete Me. And Jason, I have a Snell Talk question for you.
Okay.
And it comes from David, who wants to know, there is an ice cream truck rolling down your street. What is your choice from the truck?
Ding, 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 ding. You can hear it coming now. Ding,
Yep, there it
ding,
comes.
ding, 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 ding. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. We didn't have ice cream trucks. There was at one point an ice cream truck went down our block a couple of times when my kids were little. So I have no. What do they have, Myke? What do they have in the truck?
Ice cream. You know, like cones. They have like ice lollies, ice cream bars, all those kinds of things. What would you? Imagine like if you were to go to like, I don't know, like a supermarket and you're grabbing something out of the freezer case or something. It could be like similar
okay,
deal.
I would probably choose something that was like vanilla ice cream covered in a chocolate shell. That's
Like a
got
Magnum?
like a. I don't know, or a Klondike bar, or a, like on a stick.
Right.
We used to have things with a name that they don't, I think, use anymore because it's impolite to a certain racial group.
Man,
But
I don't even know what that could be. Don't tell me.
No,
But, like,
it was the old. Yeah. Anyway, the old Inuit pie. That was not its name. Anyway, you know what I mean. Thin chocolate covered shell over ice cream, particularly on a stick, would probably be what I'd pick. I'd take an ice cream sandwich. That would be fine too. Or I'd take like a drumstick that's like a little cone with ice cream and a little chocolate covering on it.
Nice.
Any of those would do. I don't want I don't want like a Batman popsicle or something.
Okay.
And they've got all those novelty. I'm not interested in that at all.
I'm just going to throw a shout out to basically, I think, people of my age in the UK and say that my idea would be a Zap bar. That's all I'm going to give you.
Okay.
That's it. But I wish that would be amazing. Jambo in the Discord has said a 99 flake, which is that was a thing from my childhood. It was essentially an ice cream cone, right? So like like an ice cream cone with a Cadbury like flake. They were called. It's like this ripply chocolate, really, really nice. And they were called 99s because they cost 99 pence. That is not the price anymore.
No,
Much more expensive now.
Now it's like a $3.25 flake.
Yeah,
But that's no. I like it. This is a good, very summary question, even though I have I have no good answer here because I think ideally you would have a fond memory of childhood here. And again, where I grew up, we didn't have ice cream trucks, or in fact, I did not grow up in a neighborhood, so
incredible.
I don't have that.
If you'd like to send in a question for us to open the show, we'd like summary questions during the Summer of Fun. Just go to upgradefeedback.com and you can send yours in.
They could be summary questions too if you want us to summarize something. That would also be allowed.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that.
Okay, we'll say that for the fall of summarization.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We have some follow-up, Jason Snell. Many people wrote in various forms to remind me that F1 TV, which is the F1 streaming subscription service, has their own commentary team, and Apple could just use that instead of Sky.
I thought we literally said that. I thought we said that they've got a totally different group than where ESPN uses Sky.
Yes.
F1 TV has their own group. I thought we actually said that.
Well, the thing is that we did not connect that they could or could not. Would or would not use those commentary teams. So here was my thinking. I didn't think to mention this because, in my mind at least, F1 TV doesn't continue if Apple does this.
Well, this is the question, and we I had several people point this out that like it seems unlikely that they would make F1 TV appears to be a supplement. And if Apple was doing a full-on thing like F1 TV, they would just close F1 TV in America. It would no longer be available in America. Instead, you would have Apple's thing, which makes me, again, ask the question, why don't you make a deal with Apple for that and ESPN for some live events on cable and make a broader deal than that and have Apple be your tech partner? But I don't know what they're thinking there. But that's what sort of is the thing that makes the most sense, is not offering two separate streaming subscriptions for the same content. Because again, I think what I said last week was, why would you do that? Why in the world? But they already have. It's I don't know. It's
of course, F1 TV could continue to exist, outside, like in the other markets.
It would no longer be available in the United States.
I'm just not sure how. I tried doing some research on this and couldn't find any numbers anywhere. Like, I'm not sure how big the streaming service would be at that point. For me, I feel like my gut says if Apple is going to partner with anyone rather than building their own, I think it would still be Sky, because they have the preeminent broadcasters, right? So like the people coming from ESPN to Apple are used to the Sky team. Whether they like them or not, that's who they have, right? And the people that hear the F1 commentators, the F1 TV commentators, they sign up and get F1 TV, so like they're doing what they're doing. But so
I'll also just throw out there the possibility that I wonder if at some point the point of this deal with Apple might be for Apple to be F1 TV, basically, to be like Apple is the outlet for F1 TV, and F1 TV is available, and it's like branded by Apple and all that. But I don't know the details. It's weird because we are still. I was going to walk away. F1 follow-up is like the last thing I want to be involved with. But since I'm here, I feel like it's apples and oranges here. There's a broadcast thing, and then there's streaming product. And I know Apple fancies itself, and some of these streamers fancy themselves basically like broadcast, and they want all the rights. But I think the truth is that there are hardcore people who want everything, and they want it in detail, and that's one product. And then there are the people who are just going to flip on a race and are not going to pay for a special service to do it. They've just got it with their ESPN. And those feel like different products to me. And if Apple wants to take over for F1 TV and have F1 TV in the US basically be an Apple TV Plus product, fine. Like, that's, if you're F1, you do that deal because they're going to pay you more than you can make doing it yourself. Great. If Apple's priorities make that more valuable to Apple than they are direct to F1, then that's a deal you can make. But like, I don't see how that connects to having broad distribution on something like ESPN and ABC. So that's the real question I've got about whatever this deal ends up being.
Yeah, I think the model for this working well is the WWE. They moved from kind of broadcast television to Netflix mostly for most of their content.
Right.
And I remember people talking about this at the time, like people in entertainment talking about it, and it made sense. The WWE has moved around a lot.
Yes.
Because they go to where the best money is, because what they know is their audience is going to find them, right? It doesn't matter where they are.
Sure.
The audience is going to come. I know that there is an amount of the F1 audience that will do that. I'm not confident that it would be the same amount of people that are watching ESPN. Right.
And the U.S. is theoretically a market where they want to grow market share.
Exactly.
They want to grow awareness of F1.
And this absolutely stops that.
Like, I said this last week. If I were F1, and I'm not, but if I were F1, if I were Liberty Media, what I would want is to get ESPN and ABC on board with, because they're the same company, it's all owned by Disney, with some high-profile events that were going to be shown in the U.S. on TV. And that means U.S. events that have good times, like Las Vegas, right? Mm-hmm. Like some good times in the U.S. I'd love to get an American F1 event on ABC, right, on the broadcast network. That's what I would want. And I want a few other events that are high profile on ESPN. That's what I would be looking for if I were Liberty Media, even if that's not a lot of money, because you've got F1 TV for everyone else. And then if Apple wants to come in and spend money on what is now essentially F1 TV, let them. But say one of the conditions is these 3-4 key races are also going to be on ESPN, but all the rest of them aren't. Apple may not be interested in that, and that's fine. But like if I'm F1 as a business, I mean, also you mentioned Netflix for WWE. I mean, Apple TV Plus isn't Netflix. Netflix is almost basically TV at this point.
That was
like Netflix and YouTube or TV.
I mean, because the funny thing was, like, prior to that, people were watching things on WWE's own proprietary subscription service.
Exactly.
Then went to Peacock, and then went to Netflix.
Exactly.
So that they were the I worry that some sports leagues may look to the WWE and be like, "Oh, but we're real sports. We can do a better job than they did," without understanding the context of like what that fan base has historically been through. And I don't see. Yeah, I think it would be, to me, a strange decision if Liberty Media are just all in on Apple, and that's the only place in America that you can watch it, with the overall plan being, as we expect, that over time it's all going to go to Apple. I don't think that's the best thing for the sport.
No, the best thing for most of these sports is to have high-profile events that are available broadly, and then the niche events, every other part of it, available narrowly for the people who really, really care.
Yep.
And if you sign an exclusive deal with Apple, this is true actually of MLS. There are some MLS matches that are on cable and Apple.
Yeah.
And that's because they want that exposure. So, again, that's not beyond the realm of possibility that you could have a deal where Apple has all the rights, but they sublicense a certain set of events that will also be on ESPN or ABC, and that may yet be. That seems like the most reasonable outcome here. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Speaking of Apple and sports, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred told CNBC that Apple is among the bidders for a Sunday night baseball package for 2026 to 2028. Right.
So the story here is that ESPN opted out of their contract to do Sunday Night Baseball, which they've been doing for decades, in part because Apple paid much less money for Friday Night Baseball, and Roku paid almost nothing for a Sunday morning baseball game. Now, there's a long story there involving that was an experiment they were doing with NBC and Peacock for a game on Sunday morning, and then they dropped it. And MLB decided to sell it to someone else, which was Roku, for almost nothing. And in hindsight, I'm sure MLB would tell you they should have just eaten it, because ESPN pointed at Roku paying, $10 million a year for Sunday morning. And they're like, you want us to pay $300 million for Sunday night? Are you kidding? And so they said they'd walk away, and it was kind of acrimonious. Now, the truth is, ESPN and Major League Baseball are going to continue to talk about this. And I believe NBC is also interested, as well as Apple. So
there were like three bidders, apparently.
Yeah. Well, those are the three. It's NBC, Apple, and ESPN again.
Yeah.
I feel like I said this about F1, I'm going to say it about this too. Apple's a really convenient stalking horse, because you're like, I don't know, we already got to deal with Apple, and they like this. So if I'm Major League Baseball, I don't want Apple on this deal, because Sunday Night Baseball has been kind of a tradition, and also it's fairly high profile. In fact, if I'm Apple, what I really, really want is the NBC deal, because, and this is American sports stuff, so sorry about this, everybody, but NBC already has the rights to the NBA and the rights to the NFL, and they're going to do Sunday night basketball during NBA season, and they're going to do Sunday night football that they've been doing. It's the highest rated program on American television, Sunday night NFL football. Well, those two sports don't play all summer. Sunday night MLB in the time slot on NBC, it's kind of a great idea. It's not. I mean, the moment the football season starts, it's off, right? It's on Peacock or wherever, it's gone. But during the summer, it's not a bad deal. Or get back in bed with ESPN, because ESPN, you've been with them for so long, and they're launching their streaming version this fall, and it's a good partner to have. So it's interesting that Apple is around there, but I'm skeptical that is a deal that Apple, like, I think Apple is in there basically saying, look, if nobody else wants it, we'll buy it. Like, we have a value. But we've also seen with Eddie Q that they don't overpay for rights. So I think Apple will make them an offer to pick up Sunday Night Baseball as a showcase event. And then MLB is going to look and see if they've got a better offer that's a combination of money and reach on ESPN or NBC. And we'll go from there. But Apple, I think what we've learned about Eddie Q and sports rights is they are more than happy to kick the tires on stuff.
They will sit in that room for anything.
Yeah, they will kick the tires on stuff. They will check it out. I guess it's an F1 reference more. The kick the tires is the wrong metaphor here. They will smell the baseball. I don't know. And they're open to it, but they're also not going to overpay for your rights.
I would expect as well, basically every sports league will allow them in the room, like, as well.
Of course.
It's like Apple has
they have
the
money. They got money. Yeah, that's it.
So
Absolutely.
They may be even invited to come, into these conversations. I don't know how it works. Last thing to close out this accidental Upstream segment. Apple TV Plus has secured a huge 81 Emmy nominations.
Yeah.
Their biggest hits are 27 for Severance and 23 for The Studio, and they have a bunch of shows that have double or single-digit nominations.
Yeah. Slow Horses also got nominated for Best Drama, and Shrinking got nominated for Best Comedy. So those are really high-profile nominations as well.
Are they a shoo-in for Best Comedy and Best Drama this year, Severance and The Studio?
No. I mean, they're going to win some things because they've got all those nominations, including some in the same category. But it's tough.
I think The Studio is a lock.
I think the studio has a lot of strength because of what it's about, right?
Yes.
It's people in Hollywood voting for stuff about Hollywood.
I'm not saying it's the best comedy. It was my favorite, but I'm not saying it's the best. I just think that it's going to win a lot of awards.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I actually think the one of these two shows that's the most likely to win is Severance.
Okay.
And I say that because this feels like Severance's year. The 27 nominations.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And this is basically season 2, and prove me wrong. Like, this is the moment for Severance. And I feel like it may never ever sniff anything like this number of nominations ever again. But this is the buzz show of this moment. So I think that it's a tough category, but I think that Severance just captured people's imaginations.
Because also Severance succeeded against all odds, right? Like,
the
odds of it being the second season after a really good first season.
Yeah, the second season, and they had production problems, and they had the strikes and all of that, and they came out of the gate.
They had to break through a niche subscription service to get to the mass audience.
But here's where I think my theory is that one of the nice things about Apple TV Plus being so kind of small is with Severance, you didn't get the Netflix thing where something kind of comes and explodes out of the gate and then vanishes. Instead, because it was on Apple TV Plus and it was really good, I think and then there was like 2 years between seasons, I think word got around. I think it was a huge word of mouth success that built momentum so that when season 2 came, everybody was like primed for it, ready for it, and excited about it. So in that way, I think it was actually kind of aided by all of that. Instead of it being something like Squid Game where it's like it explodes and it's everywhere and then it's kind of gone for a while. A lot of Netflix shows are like that. Severance, it is surprising. It's season 2 after season 1 didn't get a lot of notice, but I think that word of mouth built for Severance, and it was a perfect. You couldn't craft a scenario like that, but I think that's what happened.
All right, now let's move on to follow up.
All right, I'd love to do an Upstream.
This is fantastic follow up. An anonymous Upgradian wrote in and said, last week, Jason was speculating about whether the Belkin over-the-head strap for the Vision Pro was actually designed by Apple. It was. I'm friends with the person who designed it.
Okay. Look, it's widely known, but not confirmed, but widely known that there are certain products that that come out from accessory vendors that are suspiciously like they were designed by Apple. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens is Apple has that moment where they're like, do we want to make this product? And sometimes the answer is no. Like another Vision Pro strap, it's so weird, right? Because but they're selling, they put 2 in the box and this one is better than both of them. So what sort of message does that send? So sometimes these things get shunted off to a preferred partner like Belkin. And so I appreciate this anonymous feedback that just puts the little bow on the assumption. Like when these two products came out, the strap and the case, I was like, these feel very much like Apple fixing its own problems, but from Belkin, because that case is so much better too.
Case is great.
But the strap, I mean, I store my Vision Pro in the Belkin case, and I use the Belkin strap on it. Like it's, and if they come out with a new Vision Pro revision and it doesn't have that strap, I'll be very disappointed. But I imagine it will have a strap very much like the Belkin one. So yeah, it's good to know. Thank you, anonymous person, and their friend.
Apple has announced a multi-year deal with MP Materials worth $500 million to buy rare earth magnets in the USA. And these companies, so Apple and MP Materials, will also work together to establish a magnet recycling facility in California.
Yeah, I can tell you. So this is a place called Mountain Pass, California, which is literally just a wide spot on the interstate that has a mine. It's not a town. Nobody lives there. I think its population is like 30, and those people probably work at the plant. It's a mine. It's south of Las Vegas. It's in the California. For those who don't know California geography, sorry, it's California guy here. California is not just a beach. This is on the other side of the Sierra Nevada. So this is really actually pretty close to Las Vegas, but on the California side, out in the desert, the hot, miserable desert. But you know what's out there is a rich vein of rare earth minerals. And since the rare earths are primarily from China and are very important for building lots of different devices, and there's a concern about China not wanting to give away their rare earths without concessions, or maybe not at all. This is interesting because it's basically Apple saying we're gonna invest in MP Materials, we're gonna use their mine, and we're going to work. I think that's really interesting. Work with them on the recycling, because Apple has been collecting and reusing, right? Like we've talked about the recycled aluminum and recycled gold, and like they're recycling a lot of items. That's part of their kind of green message, but it's also a materials message because it allows them to put those things in other products without mining them. And I wonder, I don't know the details of rare earth recycling and rare earth mining, but reading this, it makes me think that they go well together. The idea of taking the recycled stuff as well as what's coming out of the ground and being able to process it and maybe even combine it so it's 50% recycled materials or 80% recycled materials, and it allows MP materials to have to be more efficient because they've got the stream of the influx of recycled rare earths plus the rare earths they're taking out of the ground in California. So interesting move.
So on this, just from what you're saying, just to clear up a few loose ends, they're establishing the recycling line in Mountain Pass. They're building out together some technology at MP Materials facility in Texas, in Fort Worth, Texas, to actually produce the magnets that will go in the devices. So Apple are going to work with them to be like, this is what we want our manufacturing line to be, so it will work for our devices. And today, it says here at the end, today nearly all magnets across Apple devices are made with 100% recycled rare earth elements. So they're doing 100% recycling. So that's pretty cool, right?
So this is an ongoing, and this is for it's very interesting. It's also, to talk about the politics for just a moment, a visible investment in American companies doing American resource extraction. This will be viewed positively by the administration.
I'm going to make a joke that I promised I wouldn't make, but I'm going to make it anyway because I think it's really funny. Would you say that these are MAGA nets?
How do they work?
Nobody knows. All right. Sorry about that, everyone. Moving on. Final piece of follow-up. Matthew says, I love Mondays because for some reason my son falls asleep to Upgrade super easily. Same age as Mike's child. Hooray.
Well, I was thinking, Myke, the Upgrade baby is like 10.
We get Mackenzie the Upgrade baby. We get there was we got a follow up about this recently because obviously we're around that age, so we're watching this child grow. So whoever Matthew's baby is, there's another Upgrade baby.
And I guess, but a much younger Upgrade baby than the baby that was born like during the early days of the show. That is now an old. His collecting Social Security. It's amazing how long we've been doing this. This is awesome, Matthew. I'm not offended because your child doesn't understand what we're talking about, but I'm glad that we can provide some soothing. I imagine that when Myke made that joke about magnets, that the baby woke up and cried a little bit.
as should be.
As they should. Yeah.
I think our entire
they knew
audience
that was wrong.
A little bit.
Even
a little bit.
As a babe, they knew that was wrong.
Yeah, everyone's just mad that they didn't think of it before me, Jason.
Yeah.
Is the other thing. Is
Sure.
the real thing that's going on here.
Sure.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform designed to help you stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just getting started or scaling a business, Squarespace gives you everything that you need to claim your domain, showcase your offerings of a professional website, grow your brand, and get paid all in one place. Let's talk about the ways that you can get paid with Squarespace. You can set up a store. They do physical digital goods that you can sell. It's really awesome. They have all this functionality. It's super easy to integrate a store into your Squarespace website. But you can also offer your services and get paid. From consultations to events and experiences, you can showcase your offerings with a customizable website that is designed to attract clients and grow your business. Think built-in appointment scheduling, email marketing tools, and more. Plus, keep everything cohesive with on-brand invoices and get paid easily with online payments. And you can also do things like selling content in an interesting way. So with Squarespace, they have great tools for doing stuff like managing video. So you can upload video content and organize a library. You can even sell access to those videos by adding paywalls to your content, which could be perfect for online courses, tutorials, and workshops. Go and try out Squarespace for yourself today by going to squarespace.com/upgrade, and you can sign up for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, use the offer code UPGRADE, and you'll save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Go and check it out for yourself. You're going to see why I've been using Squarespace for 15 years, because they make their system so easy to use. Their tools are so fantastic. It helps me build what I want to build. That is squarespace.com/upgrade and the offer code UPGRADE, and you will get 10% off your first purchase and show your support for the show. A thanks to Squarespace for their support of this show and all of Relay. Rumor Roundup time.
Yeehaw!
In recent days, there have been a selection of reports from various outlets, Mac Rumors, 9to5Mac, Macworld, everyone, talking about the potential colors of the iPhone 17 line. I'm going to do my best to kind of summarize this scenario. Essentially, the regular iPhone 17, there's a load of colors for that, in the kind of colors you'd expect. Then the iPhone 17 Air will get an actually slightly different set of colors. So it's like slimmed down. Rather than like 5 or 6, it'll get 4, and one of them is a color that isn't on the original iPhone 17, which is a gold. But the real news is that the iPhone 17 Pro is rumored to have both a blue and an orange option.
Yeah, dark blue.
What do you think?
Dark blue, which is originally they were like, oh, it's going to be this light blue, and they're like, no, it's not. It's going to be dark blue. The Macworld article, which is by Felipe Esposito, who has written before for 9to5,
Yep.
is writing for Macworld now. Apparently, interesting. Felipe's report says the Pro models are black, white, gray, similar to natural titanium, and then a dark blue and an orange. And the dark blue is going to be dark blue, right? It's not going to be like the blue we got a couple generations ago. But the orange looks, it looks coppery, but it definitely looks orange, which is fun. Now, it's all in, like, how it looks in real light as a real product is going to be the question. But it's possible that there will be a somewhat fun color in a Pro phone if you like orange. And that's exciting. I also enjoy the fact that apparently the base model and the Air are both getting a light blue. Their Pantone colors are slightly different by one, which, why? Okay. And, but light blue, again, it's not sky blue, but it's light blue. And my feeling is, when like black, white, gray, green, purple, and light blue on the base model, and black, white, light blue, light gold on the Air, I want to believe. I want to believe that the light blue and light gold will be visible as blue and gold, and not, and not have it be almost imperceptible. However, based on the mock-ups that Macworld did, it won't be. like there are not going to be a lot of bright colors. Perhaps the green and purple in the regular models will be there. The Airs seem, and maybe this is, I could see the design choice here is it's thin and light, and we don't want them to be bright. We want them to be, metallic and just a little touch of blue or a touch of gold. But I am excited that the Pro phone, might have one that's a little more robust in color. That's great.
In his Power On newsletter, Mark Gurman is reporting that the M5 iPad Pro will get a second front-facing camera, so there'll be one on the landscape side and one on the portrait side. Mark says this is because some customers found the move from portrait to landscape to be frustrating in use.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I FaceTime with my mom every week, and she uses her iPhone in portrait. and I use my iPad Pro in portrait because, and this is a little note I'm going to say to Apple, if I'm holding my iPad Pro in landscape talking to somebody in portrait, why do you show my image in landscape in horizontal with black bars at the top and bottom? Why don't you just crop it?
Crop it, yeah.
What? Why? I don't understand. There's enough. It's so frustrating. It seems like such an obvious thing. Anyway, moving on. So I end up flipping my iPad up vertical to match my mom's orientation, and now my finger is on it, or I have to be very careful, and I'm not really looking in the right place and I love the camera where it is, but in that scenario, it's actually bad. So, okay, I don't mind this. It doesn't say that it's necessarily all the Face ID hardware, just a camera. And if they've got the space for it, which I suspect they do, the iPad Pro, like whatever that camera costs, who cares? Because it's the iPad Pro. The margins, the iPad Pro is already so expensive that they've got to have room for a part like that. And it makes sense to me. It really does. I am absolutely in scenarios with my iPad Pro where I wish that the camera was in the other perspective. So it's fine. It's talk about minor. It's like speed bump and a little camera change, but I get it. I get why you'd want to do it. Although again, Apple, I implore you, just sync up the aspect ratios between the sender and the receiver. Just do that.
And according to Digitimes, Samsung is preparing to manufacture OLED displays for a foldable iPhone, targeting a 2026 release.
Myke, I think it's happening.
I think it's happening.
I think it's happening. I think that new Samsung foldable is like the
Fold 7.
Yeah, I think it's like the it's like the town crier, like walking down Main Street ringing a bell and being like, "It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. You see this folding phone before you. The next shall be an iPhone." Like, and it's funny watching the coverage of this because like Mark Gurman wrote about this. He's like, he says, fine, everybody always says that Apple waits and then comes into a market, but he's like, but they start markets too. But it's like, I don't entirely agree. I have watched Apple for a long time, and I feel like Apple has particular standards. Sometimes they're wrong, but they have particular standards where they'll say now. Like, I know this is going to go way back, but like Bluetooth. I kid you not, there were several years where everybody was like, why has Apple not done Bluetooth? And then Apple did Bluetooth. And Apple, when they rolled out Bluetooth, they said Bluetooth was not good enough before. It was just not good enough for our products. And now it is. And they've had it ever since. Sometimes Apple really does do that. They're not behind. They have set a standard and they're unhappy with what it is. And they're just not willing to go down that route, especially when you consider volumes that are required for Apple products, right? Which we've talked about. Like when Apple does something, they don't sell 100 of them.
Yep.
No matter what it is, they don't. Not even the Vision Pro, but they don't. And an iPhone, they're going to sell a lot of them. And so Apple's not behind on foldables. Apple was skeptical of foldables and the technology in those displays. But the reviews of that new Samsung Fold suggest that Samsung has gotten really close, and that the reports are that Apple has actually worked with Samsung or perhaps on its own, but has made changes to the hinge and some other changes, and Apple feels like they've reached the point where it's of an acceptable quality for an iPhone. And based on those reviews of that Samsung Fold, it sounds like that's about right. Like people really, you are closer to this and have had some of these phones, but it feels to me like a lot of the skepticism about like this is really impractical is beginning to drop away.
It doesn't really exist anymore.
Right? Like this one, it seems like people are like, it's expensive, but if you want to fold, it's pretty great. And that is a far cry from the first generation. That's been happening over time. And when I read these reviews of the new Samsung phone, I kept thinking to myself, I see why Apple thinks it's time now. Like, yeah. I feel like that whole product category has turned a corner where it's no longer a conversation about how weird or rickety or unpleasant it is to use it. It's just because the reviews also all say when it's closed, it's kind of just a phone.
Just a regular phone. Yeah.
And you put those two things together, which is what's the closed feel like, and is the screen and the mechanics of it good enough? Apple's not concerned about the price. It'll be expensive. Apple doesn't care, and people will buy it because it's an iPhone that folds. So if as an outsider who has not used a folding phone, it sure seems to me like we're there.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been using a Pixel Fold for like 4 or 5 months, and the vast majority of the time I just use the outside screen because it just feels and works like a great phone. And then when I want a bit of extra space, I have that available to me. It's a great experience, and I would get a real kick out of an iPhone that did this.
Oh man, me too. I think it's really interesting too, because I do think part of Apple's bar here that they set was, does it feel good to use it closed, right? Because people, right, like it's like not an iPhone if it's gross to use until you open it up. It's not an iPhone. I think it would not meet their quality standards. So we've gotten to that point with the latest generation of these things, and it sounds like that Samsung on the inside is really, really nice too. And we also know that iPhone Air is coming out, which it's so clear is Apple's first step toward making the iPhone contents as thin as possible so that they can then do a 2-plane one next year that is a foldable. And so, this podcast has been going for almost 11 years now. More than half of that time we've been talking about Apple foldables eventually happening. Yeah. I think we're there. I do think we're there. I think next fall, not this fall, but next fall, this product feels like it's really going to happen, and I'm very excited about it as an iPad user who doesn't use my iPhone a whole lot. I look at this and I wonder, how would this fit my life? Could I become somebody who primarily just uses this one device in one mode or another? To have an iPad, albeit a small one, that I can like have in my pocket as an iPhone and then just open it up and it's a little iPad? I don't know. That sounds pretty great. Pretty great.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's really interesting as well to be sitting here now and looking at the next 2 years and being like, they're going to have weird, wonderful iPhones for the next 2 years, potentially, right? Like, that is exciting on its own. Just there being something significantly new 2 years in a row, if it does go like that.
After 6 or 7 years where it's been fairly quiet.
Yeah. Very exciting.
It would be, things are happening, yeah. Yeah, and I'll show you also, because we've been chronicling this. We know that Apple's been working toward this for a while now. It will expose once again the fallacy of people who build narratives around events that occur without taking into account the time it takes for them to occur. Where people are going to be like, wow, Apple's really on a roll. They really got it together the last couple of years, and they're putting out good iPhones. And it's like, this is probably a 5+ year effort to get here. And they've known the whole time, but it hasn't been ready. But, that's just how it is. Upgrade listeners know. Upgrade listeners get it. That this is a whole process that has led to this point.
And Apple is suing content creator and leaker John Prosser over what they are calling an alleged theft of trade secrets related to his coverage of the iOS 26 redesign. Apple alleges that Prosser asked the roommate of Apple employee Ethan Lipnick to gain access to his test device, test iPhone, that was running what would be iOS 26. The roommate's name was Michael Ramacchiotti, and Apple claims that Prosser offered him, quote, money or a future job opportunity in exchange for access to the device. It's said that Ramacchiotti learned the passcode of Lipnick's device and used location tracking, Find My, I assume, to assess when he would be away from home. Ramacchiotti then had a video call with John Prosser, which Prosser recorded to demo what was on the device. Prosser used this information and this video call to then create renders and imagery and reporting that he then shared about the look of iOS 26, some of the app redesigns, and stuff like the camera app. I'm going to read a quote from The Verge's article. Apple says it found out the details of what happened in an email from April, from an anonymous email from someone who claimed to have seen Prosser's recording of the call and recognized Lipnick's apartment. So it is said that Prosser was sharing the call of other people, and one of those people contacted Apple to tell them what had happened.
Yeah.
Apple says that they also got access to a voice note that Ramacchiotti sent to Lipnick after he was fired by Apple because of the incident. Lipnick was fired because of the leak of information, and because he had failed essentially to follow Apple's strict guidelines about how these devices are used and stored. This is reminiscent to me of the story of the guy who got fired and went into the bathroom, deleted a bunch of his stuff from his phone, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that they got this voice note would suggest that maybe it was sent to a work device. John Prosser has taken to X to say, quote, "This is not how the situation played out on my end. Luckily, I have receipts for that. I did not plot to access anyone's phone. I did not have any passwords. I was unaware of how the information was obtained." In the lawsuit, Apple is essentially asking for damages and the ability to stop Prosser from reporting on Apple in the future.
Yeah. So I don't particularly like John Prosser or his shtick.
No.
But at the same time, look, from time to time, Apple makes a big deal out of stuff like this because they want to frighten their employees into not leaking information. That's what's going on here. That's the primary thing that's going on here. I am not a lawyer. However, I am a journalist who did take some law classes about journalism in school. And also, I live in a country that may or may not have court rulings that make sense anymore. I don't know. I will say this. My understanding is that a lot of this stuff is really about inducement. The idea that if people come to you with information as a journalist, you can use it because that's your job. And that when you get, as a journalist, into trouble, a lot of times it has to do with inducement. It has to do with saying, I will pay you or give you a job.
Right.
If
this
you
is
give
good, because I was wondering, like, what makes this different from, say, like what Mark Gurman does.
Yeah, if you give me secret information, I will pay you. Now, this is also about trade secrets, and here's the thing. I don't know about trade secret law and how it conflicts with First Amendment law. But the way I was always taught was, if somebody comes to you with secrets, go for it. If you know somebody who knows something and you pay them to tell you, you're in trouble, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of the simple part of it, is paying a source. So Apple's allegation here is that this guy Ramaciotti or Ramaciotti.
I'm sorry, I wasn't 100% sure how to pronounce that name.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. My high school girlfriend had a similar name too. I wonder if they're kind of related. Anyway,
Jason's involved.
No, I might be. Well, I mean, I don't know enough about how people's Italian names were changed in the U.S. Right. But anyway, let's say Ramaciotti. This is not an Apple employee, right? And Prosser, so then it becomes weirder because then it's like Prosser offered money to somebody who is not an Apple employee. Okay, I'm not sure about that, but you could perceive it as being Apple offered a non-Apple employee money to break in to someone else's device and steal trade secrets.
Yeah. If this actually happened, to me it seems I see a logic in putting a court case against both of them, because this is like a heist.
This is bad. It's okay. We got to back up further.
Yeah.
First off, what a bad friend this person is.
Yes.
Because this is the idea here.
This is bad.
Ethan Lipnick had an iPhone at home running a pre-release of what is now iOS 26.
Yep.
That's common at Apple. People have got multiple devices that they're going on different builds. Plus, there are ones that they can take out. For all intents
and purposes, it seemed like Lipnick was not a very senior member of the team. Right? He was just in the Photos team, right? And so, it's very common, as you say.
If you're working on stuff, you've got these devices and you've got them at home, and you are supposed to keep them secure, right? But it's not. He did not secret out an iPhone to his apartment. That didn't happen. This is just common, right?
I would love to see how many safes got bought in Cupertino over the last week.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and I would imagine that if there hasn't been, there will be a reminder to employees about hygiene for your stuff that contains secrets. Yep. But still, what a bad friend. The bad friend here looked at Ethan Lipnick's password, figured it out, and then was at his house. So obviously a trust level there where he's staying at his house.
I think they're roommates.
Yeah, well, Lipnick is supposedly resides far away, but that might be a thing where he works remotely and then he comes in a couple of days a week and then drives back. It's possible that it's something like that, and he's crashing there. I don't know. Where he is alleged in the lawsuit to live is far away. It's like 3.5 hours away from Cupertino. So, but what a bad friend. He waits for him to be gone and then puts in his, ill-gotten ID and then strikes up a FaceTime with John Prosser to detail all the secrets of the next OS. So bad friend who's apparently allegedly sold out his friend by John Prosser offering him money or a future job opportunity, according to the lawsuit.
Even if Prosser didn't offer him money, this is a real bad way to get this kind of information, in my opinion.
I agree in that you're manipulating. Well, look, I mean, bottom line, I don't know what the criminal issues are here, but breaking into somebody's phone with their ID, especially for the reason that you are, without their knowledge, intentionally, also seems questionable in terms of legality. And then if you're encouraging that, and again, this is not the same as this guy taking video of this phone and then anonymously sending it to John Prosser. Different scenario here. The inducement is part of the argument here. The betrayal of the friendship is brutal, and that guy got fired because of it.
Sucks so bad. I feel so bad for this guy.
Yeah, except
I feel bad for them.
Except I do want to say this. Then there's the other piece of this, which is the anonymous tipster got shown this video and said, "Hey, that's Lipnick's apartment." And that's how this all fell apart.
Yeah, I don't like the snitching either, right?
That's well, I mean, look, I don't know why. Okay, I have questions. How does a person who John Prosser is showing the video to, how do they know what Lipnick's apartment looks like? That's a question I've got.
I don't know.
Because are they an Apple employee too, who just talks to John Prosser and gets shown videos so that they can maybe just nod and say, yeah, that's right, that's not fake. Maybe it was a pass like that. But then whoever this person is then turns around and sends an email to Apple saying, Lipnick leaked this and Prosser's got it and Ramasiati's involved. And,
do
names
we
all
know
the names.
that it went that way? Like, what if Prosser shared it with this person and said where it came from? Like, as a way to kind of show credentials to whoever it was they were sharing it with.
This lawsuit alleges that they recognized Lipnick's apartment.
Okay.
And that's how they knew who
I missed that part.
The sources. They recognized his. Does he have an ugly couch or something? Where they're like, oh God, Lipnick, you still have that? Oh, it's Lipnick. Oh no, right? Like, I don't know what's going on there.
Maybe
what a detail.
This person has also dealt with Ramasiati in some way.
It also possible, and that he disclosed that he stayed with a friend who worked for Apple, and then this is the same place. We don't know that part. It's not detailed as far as I can tell. So
I just don't like this whole part. I really don't like. There's a lot of things I don't like about the story. I really don't like this part because whoever this person is really causing trouble for a couple of people, and I can't ascertain why you would do this.
Yeah, because the only way to me that seems reasonable is you do this because you're an Apple employee who thinks that there's an Apple employee who's leaking stuff who's gone out of control. But if you're seeing video from John Prosser, are you not yourself an Apple employee who's gone out of control? I don't know.
Because this was an anonymous email, right?
Yeah.
Like you would assume is sent to some kind of
Or it's another leaker, reporter, whatever, in a circle where Prosser's like, this is a thing that I got that I'm working on. And that person was also talking to one of these other guys and was like, oh, I recognize that apartment. But then why do you burn his source, right? It is a little bit baffling. So leaving this scenario aside, because it's bananas, and I'm not a lawyer, so I really can't say. I don't love the fact that Apple is trying to destroy John Prosser's business. I think Apple trying to scare its employees into recognizing that they are supposed to keep their stuff together and keep it all tight and keep it quiet, and you don't show it to your friends, and you don't, and be aware that your friends might be able to do what this guy did and know your ID and put it in and then do something like this. And it's a trade secret and you need to not do that. Like, I think Apple has a strong interest in that. But Apple attacking people in the press for disseminating that information, I don't like the idea that he potentially, again, he says this is not how it went down, but if he offered money to somebody for them to break into their friend's phone and show it to them, I'm troubled by that. But I'm going to say more broadly, I don't like the idea that Apple is just rolling in and saying, I want to, hey, guy who reports secrets, I'm going to ruin your career. And literally ask a court to make it so you can never write about Apple secrets again. Like,
Yeah,
I do not like that one bit. I think the ultimate right thing is you punish the people. One, you punish the people who work for Apple and broke the rules. And two, I say you punish the person who broke into an Apple employee's phone and disseminated the results, because that's bad. That's really bad. But I am not so sympathetic about the idea of the guy who took information that somebody spirited out of Apple and built content around it and commissioned renders and reported about it. Even though I don't particularly like the guy and his shtick, the fact is, I'm never going to be a fan of Apple trying to ruin somebody in the media because they reported on things that Apple is going to do. Because, I mean, they're not going to do that to Mark Gurman because he's got Bloomberg lawyers, but they can do it to John Prosser because he lives in, upstate Pennsylvania out in the middle of nowhere and probably doesn't have any lawyers but his dad's friend or something like that. And that troubles me. But again, I am also troubled by the suggestion that it's possible that he literally offered to pay somebody to break into their friend's phone and show them the next iOS. That's not great.
Yeah, I don't like it from the sense of like Apple kind of like swinging a big briefcase around against this guy, right? Where there's just absolutely no world in which he can defend himself. Would be my expectation, because it would be very hard and expensive to do, I'm sure. But I struggle with, if this is true, if this is true about the way it went down, I don't disagree with the idea of making it that nobody would do this again. Like, that you make an example out of it, which sucks, right? For John Prosser, big time. But if you did this, you made a mistake. You made a mistake legally and morally, in my opinion, in the way of doing this. And so if you did it this way, I struggle to be like, oh, poor you. I don't know.
Number one is every Apple employee has gotten the message now.
Yeah.
And we'll probably get a message, but they've gotten the message, which is secure your stuff. Secure your stuff. We're not kidding. This stuff gets out this way. You'll be betrayed by your friends. Secure your stuff. We're not kidding. Again, I'm never going to champion a member of the media being sued out of existence by Apple, but there are cases where it's happened where when you get into the details, you're like, ooh, no, you shouldn't. And where do I draw the line? I'm not sure, but again, I'll say it. If you offered to compensate someone to break into their friend's phone and reveal secrets to you, not a fan of that. Not a fan of that.
Encouraged it. Like,
I just
don't like it.
I should say for people who are like, well, how's this different than what Gurman does? I'll tell you why. I'm not privy. We had him on the show at one point, but like, I think Gurman has people who send him stuff on Signal and elsewhere secretly.
The same
that
thing
he
that
confirms.
happens to me and you, right? Like, people tell us stuff. I'm not going out there and asking anyone for anything.
I could probably guarantee you that Mark Gurman is not paying people for information.
And if he was, I would say that was morally wrong too.
I would say that I think he would be on legal, not solid legal ground. Also, Bloomberg would not stand for it. His news organization is not going to stand for paying sources. So it's not going to happen. And that's the difference here, is that it's a little more of the Wild West. This is like the people were bringing up the Think Secret case. That was a website that published secret stuff and got sued into oblivion. I mean, literally, they settled the case and shut down the website, and that was the end of it forever. But again, when you're kind of out in the Wild West and you're like, you maybe don't know all the law stuff, and you think whatever you get is fine, and you don't have a corporate organization with lawyers above you to advise you. Sometimes you make bad decisions. Sometimes you don't. I'm not. Yeah. And again, I don't. We'll see what comes out, because Prosser has denied at least some aspects of this, and we only have Apple's allegations here. But
Absolutely.
there are. What I can't say is that whatever it's like when we brought a puppy home and we had a cat, and like the rule was everything the cat does is right, everything the dog does is wrong, and that's how you teach the dog that just don't bug the cats and listen to the cats. I don't want to say everything the journalist does is right and everything the source does is wrong. There are cases where the journalist does something wrong, and like there is a line beyond which the First Amendment should not protect you. When you are aiding in the commission of crimes, seems like a pretty good line. But again, I am not a lawyer, and I encourage John Prosser to get a good one.
I can't believe he posted. I
can't believe it either.
Just keep your mouth shut. And like, honestly, I say in his defense, if that's the word I'm trying to use, he hasn't posted on his YouTube channel about it, which I was convinced he was.
Oh God, yeah. Actually, as social media posts, as social media posts go, his I deny this and I look forward to having my day is not a bad thing to do. But yes, I think a lawyer would say just don't say anything. Yeah. And don't post a screenshot of part of the conversation, dude. Don't do it.
This doesn't. I don't think that this helps you in the way that you think it does. Who knows? I'm intrigued to see if or what comes of this. But I don't. It's quote unquote interesting, right? It's an interesting story. I just, and I would even say that, like, from my perspective, giving money for leaks is not great, but it's not like morally wrong in a way. Like from the way that I look at it, to me, it is the even knowledge of where this information's coming from. That's the problem, right? Like if you knew where this was coming from at any point, you should have not used it, right?
Well,
you should have just stopped.
I will, and maybe this is just all my years of training, but I do draw the line at offering compensation to
I'm
induce.
not saying it's good, and I don't think you should do it. But I just mean that, like, my biggest issue is actually the moral part of this, not the legal part of this.
I mean, because like if I'm in a lawsuit and like you're over at a friend's house and I am they're getting a divorce, and I want some incriminating evidence, and I pay you to break into your friend's phone and send me the screenshots, like, I kind of feel like we committed a crime, right?
Yeah.
That's a crime. And this is not that different from that, honestly, because that's the thing that got me, is that they're not talking about criminal case here, but like surely what this guy did is a crime. To break into his friend's phone, especially given the motive, which is to essentially steal trade secrets. I don't know. There's a lot of bad behavior going on here, and somebody's going to have to sort it all out. But I will say again, one of the reasons you do this if you're Apple is just to scare people. Like, that's what it's all about. It's a big corporation scaring its employees, scaring its employees' friends, and scaring people in the media who are trying to get secret Apple information. That's all part of what's going on here, regardless of the outcome.
Yep. All right, this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Ecamm. If you're looking to get into video, you need Ecamm. Ecamm Live is the leading video production and live streaming studio built for Mac. It's great for streaming, recording, podcasting, and presenting. If you want to stand out from the crowd, you need high-quality video. And with Ecamm, you can screen share, use multiple cameras, and even direct the show in real time with their live camera switcher. It's great for simplifying your workflow too, because you can do everything with the Ecamm app. Get Get started quickly and have everything on hand to create whatever you need with video. Jason, Apple's quarterly results are coming up, and I know that you and Dan always jump on and do a video, like I think a stream. Yeah, you do it as a stream, right, to the Six Colors YouTube channel. I'm assuming you use Ecamm for this.
We do. We're not going to do it this time for reasons. Sorry, it's not. Okay. It's not every time. We're not going to do it this time because I have to go to the airport. Because some are fun.
When you're there, you do it with Ecamm.
But this is what we do: is we hop on a stream in Ecamm, and this is what we use. I just used it over the weekend for Total Party Kill. This is how we do all of that stuff because it's a great Mac app that gives you the ability to stream high quality, and I can get the boxes and the graphics and everything to look exactly the way I want to. And yeah, it's great. So I pay for it. I am a subscriber to Ecamm Live for these reasons. Yes.
You can add your own stamp to your videos with logos, titles, lower thirds, and those graphics. You can drop in video clips, bring in interview guests, use a green screen, and so much more. Ecamm Live does it all. Ecamm's members are marketing professionals, podcasters, musicians, church leaders, bloggers, and content creators of all kinds. And if you're on the pro level plan, you can enjoy Ecamm for Zoom, where you can automatically send Ecamm Live's audio and video output into a Zoom meeting, webinar, or event, and add up to 8 Zoom participants as camera sources in your broadcast or recording. You can automatically create individual participant audio and video recordings too, as well as adding Zoom chat messages to your broadcast or recording as text overlays. To get 1 month free today, just go to ecamm.com/upgradefm and use the code upgradefm. That's a whole month free of Ecamm Live at ecamm.com/upgradefm with the code upgradefm. Go there now and check it out. Our thanks to Ecamm for their support of this show and Relay. Now, Jason, considering it's the summer of fun, we have had a distinct lack of games around here on Upgrade. So today, I want to play a game with you. Are you familiar with blind ranking? Does this come across your world in any way, Jason?
Oh yeah. I mean, we did it, Myke. We did it literally at the Podcastathon last year.
We did do blind rankings at the Podcastathon. Yeah, I forgot about that. So in case you're unaware, what I'm going to do with Jason today is we're going to do a blind ranking of iconic Apple products. So I have a list of 10 what I am calling iconic Apple products. I will give you each one at a time, and you have to put them on a 1 to 10 list, not knowing what the rest of the answers will be. I will give you no indication of which is better than the other, and you can only put one product in each of the 1 to 10 slots.
Yep.
So I have 10 items. I will give them to you in an order, and you have to try and guess where would they be on the 1 to 10 list of iconic products.
And we will construct from that a ridiculous list that is no good.
Well, it could be great. Have faith in yourself. You might do a great job.
Sure.
The first item, which you will be grading on your 1 to 10 list, is the original iPod from 2001.
Original iPod, 2001. I'm going to put it at number 3.
Number 3?
Yeah.
You were at that event, right? You were with us. Was the thing.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. As somebody emails me about almost every month.
You're featured very prominently in the video.
I mean, yeah, I'm in the audience. There's no doubt about it.
Okay.
Right between John Seff and Rick LePage.
My second item for you is the Macintosh from 1984.
That is going to be...
looking at it, like I understand why you did it, but putting iPod at number 3 is like that's really penned you in already. Like you've only got 2 spots above. That.
No. I mean, I know what I'm doing here. What are you talking about?
you got a great list. You got it on your head.
Iconic Apple products.
Yep.
The original Mac.
Yep.
See, I just have to decide what else might I consider as iconic as the original Mac.
That's an interesting idea.
And I'm gonna put it number 1.
Wow. Okay. Why?
Because it's the most iconic Apple product.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm happy that you think so. I'm gonna.
Whose list is this? Am I supposed to guess what your list is? Because this is my list.
Oh, this is just a completely random set of things.
Okay.
Then I'm going to come in next with AirPods from 2016.
AirPods.
Mm-hmm. Pretty iconic.
7.
Okay. Why would you go so low for AirPods?
I don't think they're that iconic. They're fine. I mean, white earbuds, and this could be maybe an exemplar of that, but Apple's done way more iconic products than that, so.
What do you think about iMac Pro from 2017?
10.
Oh, you don't know that. Okay. All right. Why? You don't like it?
It's not iconic. It's just an iMac. It looks like all the other iMacs.
It's got an eye in it.
Okay.
You know?
An eyeball? Does it look at you?
Sure.
Creepy.
All right. Next up, from 2007, the iPhone.
The original iPhone.
The original iPhone.
Good thing that I left some room, and I'm going to put it 4th.
Underneath the iPod?
Yeah.
What? That's an interesting call, I think. Why would you say the iPhone is less iconic than the iPod?
I think to me, the iPhone got so much better, and that the original iPhone was a little bit weird. That's also true of the iPod, but I'm not as for whatever reason, I'm much more charitable to the original iPod than I am to the original iPhone.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it 4th. I'm going to leave some room. I hope there's something else good coming to go at number 2. I almost put it at number 2.
That's where I thought it was naturally going to go, right?
I almost put it there.
iPhone, iPod.
I almost did. I'm holding out hope that there's another one that will slot into number 2 on your list. Otherwise, some garbage is going to go up there, and that's fine. Whatever.
All right. Next up, from 1998, the iMac G3.
Well, thanks, Myke. I was saving a spot for it. That goes at number 2.
Okay. I figured this is going to go pretty high for you.
Yeah.
Item number 7.
Yeah.
The iPod Nano.
The iPod Nano.
Yeah.
8.
Underneath AirPods? Underneath AirPods?
Yeah.
All right.
iPod Nano is just one model that existed for space and time. AirPods could theoretically represent all white Apple earbuds through all time.
So you're only considering the one iPod Nano as like the iPod Nano? I guess I'm saying
I'm the iPod Nanos. I mean, yeah, but the iPod Nano didn't last that long. It was nice. People liked it, but they put white earbuds in starting at the beginning, and they still do it. So
yeah, that's true. That original iPod Nano, though, man, that was unbeatable in my mind. The white plastic on one side, like destroyed aluminium on the other side.
Scratch the hell out of the plastic
that
too.
Looked
Don't
so
forget.
Good though, when it was all scratched up like that. They knew what they were doing. Number 8.
Yes.
Item number 8. Apple Watch from 2015.
6.
So above AirPods?
Above AirPods.
Okay.
And I say that mostly because Apple has managed to keep the Apple Watch looking more or less the same for a decade now.
Yep.
And I feel it deserves some iconic credit for that. That even the Ultra looks a little different, but not that different. And the standard Apple Watch still looks exactly the same. So I would say Apple Watch is pretty iconic in its longevity.
Maybe of all of the products on this list, it's the one that probably looks the most like the original, right? Like even more than the iPhone, I feel like. All right, number 9. You have 2 spots left. You have spot 5 and spot 9 for 2 products.
Yep.
Then the next product for you is the iPhone 6 Plus.
9.
Underneath the iPod Nano, above the...
Yes. Above the iMac Pro.
Okay. And your last one, I'm going to give you, by the way, if you want, the opportunity to recraft the list at the end.
Sure.
If there's anything that you would like to change, just so
Sure.
you have the opportunity to do that if you want.
I mean, you may put the whammy on me here because this one has to be slotted at 5.
Yeah.
But thus far, with the first 9, I would say you have presented these to me in a very generous order.
Do you think so?
Yes, because before we get to what the 10th one is, that'll be slotting in at number 5, you gave me a lot of the really good ones early, and the trick to this game, in my opinion, is you either give the good ones sort of in the middle toward the end, and you also save some really bad ones in hoping that they will filter in. And I feel like you set me up fairly easily with those top ones. But we'll see now. Bring it on.
The thing is, I would say that I don't agree with the way that you believe that to be. Like, and I thought that I was giving you. I didn't expect you to rank them the way that you have. Your final one is the M2 MacBook Air from 2022, which goes in above the Apple Watch.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Not too bad.
All right, so this is your list as you've ranked it. At number 1 is the Macintosh, the original. And number 2 is the iMac G3. And number 3 is the iPod. Number 4 is the iPhone. Number 5 is the M2 MacBook Air. Number 6 is the Apple Watch. Number 7 is AirPods. Number 8 is iPod Nano. Number 9 is iPhone 6 Plus. Number 10 is iMac Pro. Yeah. Now, if you were given the freedom to know your answers, would you make it? What would you change, if anything, or is this actually, as you thought it might be, the perfect list?
What would I change here? I would put the MacBook Air lower because it's not the iconic MacBook Air. I love it. I think it's really good, but it's not the iconic MacBook Air look. That would be an earlier model or even the M1, but one of the originals.
If I had said the iconic one, the original one, like the original, would you have maybe would you have put that higher, say?
I mean, it's a tough list to be on. I don't think I would have put it higher.
Yeah. Okay.
What are you doing with our list now? I'm very confused.
I'm trying. In our document, I'm messing things up. I'm just trying to see if you would move things around. If you move things around, I want to see what they would look like from a 1 to 10. But for some reason, Google Docs will not allow me to nail anything other than 11 to 20. So all right, I can't stop it. It won't stop. So
it's fine. What I would change is I would put the iPhone above the iPod. I'd put I'm doing a little re-rank here.
Yeah, so in an ideal world, you would put the iPhone above the iPod because you had that spot, but you didn't want to take up spot 2.
I was concerned. I was concerned about it. Okay, this is okay. Just taking a quick cut at it. Here's what I would change. I'd leave my top 2. I'd switch iPhone and iPod around.
Right.
But I wanted to leave that space open. That's just how it went. That's strategy there. I would move Apple Watch up to 5th.
Okay.
I would move iPhone 6 Plus up to 6th.
Wow, from 9 to 6.
Yeah. Again, there was some strategy things. So my thought there is 2 iPhones on the list, and it's the first large iPhone.
Yep.
I could be. I mean, I'm fine with it lower down because it kind of doesn't matter. But I let's say there, AirPods still at 7, so that's the M2 Air falls down to 8. And Nano goes down another space to 9, and the iMac Pro stays at 10. But I'm pretty happy with my list. As embarrassing blind ranking lists go, I'm pretty happy with my blind ranking list, Mike. I think I strategically, I mean, you may not agree with my choices and my opinions, but I think strategically I left room in the right places for the right products.
Okay, this is good. I enjoyed this, and I feel like I've learned something. Because my original thought here was I was going to do a list of just Apple products, and then I was like, no, I'm going to make good ones, because I thought maybe I could also do a bad one in the future, like bad Apple products. Yeah. And so I think I'm going to come back at another point in the summer of fun with a blind ranking of bad Apple products.
Okay.
And I feel like I've learned a little bit about how you blind rank here that might help me later on. Because I had arranged them in such a way that I thought would trip you up, but
no, you arranged them. You arranged them beautifully for me.
So I've learned a little bit about how to arrange them for you.
The moment where I knew I had you is that I specifically left number 2 and put the iPhone 4th because I wanted to leave a space for the iMac G3. When I put the iPod 3rd, I wanted to leave space for maybe an iPhone, or maybe it's the original Mac and the iMac G3.
Well, I'm not going to tell you what I've learned specifically because I don't want to tip you off.
Don't do that. But I left space for products that then you handed to me. So that's about as good as it can go. Like, number 2, why did you put iPhone number 4 and leave number 2 open? What I didn't say was because the iMac G3 is probably out there. And then it was, and I put it where it needed to be. And that, is not my experience in most blind rankings. So I'm just saying, you don't have to agree with my opinions, but I think I nailed it.
But the other opinion that you're making is that I did a bad job with the blind ranking. I think is implicitly what you're saying.
I think you did me a favor with your sequencing. And if you had to do it all over again, you could put it in a different sequence. And if we're doing this again, you might want to consult with somebody about the right way to ruin somebody with blind ranking sequence.
This is bullying. This is cyberbullying. I tried, everyone.
I'm just trying to be constructive here. I want you to do better next time.
I'll try my best.
Okay.
This episode is brought to you by Delete Me. Right now, headlines are full of data breaches and regulatory rollbacks, which can make us feel vulnerable. But you can do something about it. Delete Me is here to make it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online. If you want an easier way to deal with data breaches, get Delete Me. That way, when you get an email or a letter saying your data has been breached, you know that you've got Delete Me to help you. And it's not just a one-time service. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you do not want on the internet. What I love about Delete Me is I'm able to go in and tell them exactly what I don't want to be online, and then they're going to go out there and they're going to have my back. They're going to be checking data brokers and they're going to be removing my information from them. They're out there, they're doing the hard work so I don't have to, and it gives me that peace of mind. Why don't you take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me with a special offer for listeners of this show? You can get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/upgrade20 and use the promo code upgrade20 at checkout. The only way to get that 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/upgrade20 and enter the code upgrade20 at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/upgrade20 with the code upgrade20. Our thanks to Delete Me for their support of this show and Relay. Let's finish out today with some Ask Upgrade questions. Will writes in and says, long-time listener, first-time question asker, the Read It Later service Pocket shut down on July 8th. I'm looking for another option, and there are a lot of them out there. Do the two of you have any recommendations?
I think you have a recommendation. The only Read It Later service I used was Pocket because it integrated with Kobo, which meant I could send long articles to Pocket, and they would integrate with my Kobo, and I could read them on my Kobo. I do have breaking news. Breaking news. Instapaper has announced, as of 4 hours ago, as we record this, that Instapaper is going to integrate with Kobo.
What a great day to put this question into the show notes.
I went looking for the question thinking, if we don't have it in there, I should put it in there, and it was already in there, so that was perfect. I would have dragged it out of the pile and put it in here if not. So yes. So the answer is, I guess I'm going to go back to Instapaper now because I really, again, I subscribe to the thing that Myke is about to talk about, and I'm trying it out, but I don't think it works the way I want it to. But to get long articles, especially onto my Kobo so I can read them there, I use Pocket, and I will now use Instapaper, I guess. They say later this summer they're gonna launch their integration with Kobo, because Kobo will have to make... my guess is Instapaper is emulating whatever API that Kobo used with Pocket, and then Kobo will point at the new API. my guess is this is like, how do we make this happen so that our readers are not broken anymore, and that Instapaper and Kobo worked it out. But anyway, I'm excited about that. What do you use, Myke?
I use Readwise Reader. I like it. When I was looking for a Read It Later service, this one stuck out to me because it's cross-platform, which is good. It's like available everywhere, and the experience is relatively similar. I like how easy it is to get articles in. I like how it does a good job of letting me tag articles. And then I also like, obviously, the way that the reader also integrates with Readwise, so you can kind of save quotes and highlights and stuff, and they will show up in your Readwise account. And then Readwise integrates with my terminal e-ink screen, so I can see things like quotes from articles that I find interesting or inspiring can show up on my terminal, which I really like that as like a little ecosystem there for me. So
it's a nice product, and I have been using it a little bit. And I like it, but again, I think in the end, I'm probably going to go to Instapaper just because
it makes absolute sense for you because
having that Kobo integration.
Yeah. Because as soon as I saw this news, I was like, oh no, Jason's e-reader works.
Oh yeah, it was very sad. Very sad. So yeah.
So I believe the people originally behind Pocket have started a new thing called Folio, which they're like trying to stand up like as it speaks, as we speak, you know what I mean? Like they're really trying to build quick, but they don't seem to be talking about any kind of read it later. Any kind of e-reader integration. But I guess if you want to use something that's kind of like Pocket, Folio is probably a good bet. It looks nice and clean. I think that might just be because they haven't had a lot of time to build the app, but you can go and check that out. I also do really like that name a lot for a read it later service, Folio.
And I guess I need to try Instapaper again.
Yeah, you're going to have to now. Yeah. Look, you know what? That's a good follow-up for the future, Jason. I want to know what your experience is like trying out Instapaper now.
Sure.
Jonathan asks, I'm traveling to San Francisco in a couple of days, and I'll have a few hours to do some sightseeing. Could you recommend some cool places to visit?
Well, I live here. Myke, you've been a visitor. Do you have any recommendations?
I have a selection of recommendations. You will not be able to do all of them, so I will make the recommendations, and then you can do whatever one interests you. If you want to just have lunch, go to the Ferry Building. The Ferry Building has a bunch of really fun. And I would say these recommendations are all based on me being there 2 years ago. I don't know what's available or open anymore in San Francisco. Like when I was there last, they announced that Westfield Mall was closing. It's like, oh boy, bad times. But the Ferry Building, there's an empanada place that I've been to. I just love, and they have a really great ice cream shop there too. So there's a bunch of great food stuff to do at the Ferry Building. I recommend it. If you want to do like not all day, but like a big chunk of a sightseeing thing, go to Alcatraz. I don't know if you can fit Alcatraz in a few hours. I'm not
sure. You could try.
You got to get the ferry, like little boat out there. But Alcatraz is my favorite, like San Francisco, like sightseeing touristy thing to do. It's just a good time. Like Alcatraz is great. For as much as a prison can be, but you know what I'm saying. As a tour, like the tour is really interesting, like the kind of like the audio tour and stuff. It's cool, and you get to go out on a little boat, which is nice. You want to do, I think, the most quintessential San Francisco thing, take the cable car from Market to Fisherman's Wharf. Then you can go see the sea lions too once you're up in Fisherman's Wharf. Plus there's a bunch of things to go eat up there.
And you don't have to take the cable car back. You can take a lift or whatever.
Exactly.
Or walk back along or walk back if you got the time. Walk back along the Embarcadero. Cable car doesn't need to be both ways. It's not inaccessible via other means.
Exactly. The problem with this is sometimes the line for the cable car can be
really very long. It's true.
And if you are going to take the cable car, in my experience, you should do it from that terminal stop in Market Street because you have no idea if you'll be able to get on one at any of the other stops that it stops at.
True.
And then you'll also end up being one of those people that hangs on the outside of it, which is terrifying to me.
Yes.
Don't do that. Go and see the Golden Gate Bridge. Jason wrote Crissy Field in as the place to go see it from.
Myke wrote Golden Gate Park, which you'd think would be the place, but it's not. Golden Gate Park is not near the Golden Gate Bridge.
Thank you.
Go to Crissy Field, which is formerly, I think, airstrip that is now just a park that is amazing. And when you're there, you get the view of the Golden Gate Bridge. And if you want, you can walk down and go and like get up close to the Golden Gate Bridge. You can climb the stairs and go up and see the bridge. And Mike's advice is don't walk over the bridge, which I agree.
Do not.
It's very, very long.
Over the Golden Gate
In fact,
Bridge.
If we're broadening this out past Jonathan, I will say one of the things that you could do that's really fun is you can rent a bicycle and you can bike over the Golden Gate Bridge to Sausalito and then take the ferry back, or to Tiburon and take the ferry back. You get a ferry ride, you get a bike ride, you get to go over the Golden Gate Bridge. I also would say walking on it's very far. You got to walk back, and it's probably going to be really cold and windy when you're out there. So,
which is what happened to me and Steven.
Yeah,
it was really hot in San Francisco. We were somewhere, I don't remember where we were. Or if we got maybe we got a lift there and we walked the bridge and it was freezing and horrible.
Here's a San Francisco weather tip for you. No matter what the temperature is, wherever you are in San Francisco, it's 55 degrees at the Golden Gate Bridge.
It was horrible.
It's just how it is.
It was how it is. Scary. Like it's like the wind was picking up. Oh, it was a terrible time.
Yeah, and if there's enough fog, you can't see anything either, which is even better because you're like, look at this spectacular bridge I can't see. So, anyway, Crissy Field is really great and beautiful and just an amazing park. And there's now the Tunnel Tops Park, so you can actually walk from Crissy Field up to the Presidio, which is an old Army base that is now a national park. And they put in these tunnels to cover the roadway that used to run and cut off Crissy Field from the Presidio, so you can actually like walk over the old roadway, and it's just a park now. So that's pretty great too. So there's a lot of related stuff over there in that part of San Francisco that's pretty awesome, and you get that view of the Golden Gate Bridge, which honestly, going over the Golden Gate Bridge is an experience. I used to do it every day. It's fun. I used to do it every day and observe whether it was a good or a bad day. I'd be like, a foggy day, I'd see all the tourists, and I'd be like, you poor people. And on a very clear day, I'd be like, yeah, you don't know how lucky you are. But you don't have to go over it to have that full-on experience of standing at Crissy Field and looking out at that spectacular bridge and that view. But if you do have extra time, you could rent a bike and go over and then come back on a ferry. We just did a Giants game by a ferry, which we don't normally do. We usually drive, but it was a holiday, and we decided, Lauren and I took the ferry. Beautiful. And again, it's like you got a baseball game, but also you get 2 scenic ferry rides, and we don't do ferry rides that often. So I think that's a good recommendation. Speaking of Alcatraz, by the way, I'm going to throw in, we just went to Angel Island a couple weeks ago, which we'd never been to before. I highly recommend that. You can take a ferry from San Francisco or Tiburon to Angel Island. Angel Island is much larger than Alcatraz. You can rent a bike and ride around. It's got an old immigration station. It's got an old army base. It's got a Civil War army base in a different part of the island. It's a state park. It's got stupendous views of the Golden Gate and of San Francisco and of the East Bay and of Marin, because it's this big island out in the middle of the bay. And nobody lives there except the park rangers, and it's quite a deal. So Angel Island, I would put if you want a little more than Alcatraz, a little less. It's still got ruins though, a little more than Alcatraz in terms of activity. You want to walk around or ride a bike around. Highly recommend Angel Island. And one last recommendation from you, Myke.
The Painted Ladies.
Yeah, they're pretty.
Section of houses that are really beautifully painted. And that seemed like they'd be a nightmare to keep up. You're
a Londoner, and this is the funny thing, is like we don't have a lot of like nice architectural thingies in California, because it's not. We've only been here for 150 years. We don't know what we're doing. But the Painted Ladies are very pretty. You've seen them. It's that shot where there's like kind of a park, and then there's that row of beautiful painted buildings. That's them.
They're featured in a television show, right?
Full House, I think.
Full House, yeah.
Yeah, or are they in Mrs. Doubtfire? I think maybe they're in Mrs. Doubtfire too. I don't know. I lose track.
So what was interesting, that part of San Francisco, is it Lower Height and
Haight.
Alamo Square, Haight, those kinds of areas. The architecture is very heavily inspired by Victorian and Edwardian style.
Yeah, so many old Victorians in San Francisco. But
very funny for us to see them, because it's like bizarro. It's like, I see what you were going for. Yeah. It's like if we see a craftsman style house in England, which happens, right? You see them and you're like, no, I mean, I can see what you were trying to do, but you didn't get it.
Right. Yeah. Well, this is ours. We have, there's lots of old Victorians in San Francisco, especially. By the way, since we filled up more than Jonathan could ever do, but for everybody out there who might come to San Francisco or who has been, we'll also say San Francisco is so much more than Market Street and Moscone.
Yes.
And if you get the chance to come back, please explore the rest of San Francisco. We have a new park that's out on what used to be the Great Highway that is at the ocean. That is in the Sunset District, a completely different part of San Francisco. It is very foggy out there, but there's a whole highway that has just been turned into a park that is at the beach. That's spectacular. Crissy Field, which again wasn't there when I moved here. It was like fenced off and former landing strip, airport, is spectacular now. Some of the neighborhoods, there's so many different neighborhoods. You go up to Russian Hill, North Beach. Like there are so many things that are not the gray convention center and high rises and hotels of south of Market or the high rises of the financial district. And if you get out of there,
there's like a nice little shopping area, Hayes Street.
Yeah, sure.
That's like really nice. Me and Adina have been there a few times.
Yeah. I had a friend who used to live over there. Yeah, absolutely. It is. And I'll just say again, for those of you who've been told by the news media that San Francisco is a horrible wasteland, it's not. It's a beautiful city. And maybe I'm ruining it by revealing that here, but it's a beautiful city with lots of really lively places. And the part that's dead and weird is the downtown core, which is slowly coming back. But just to throw out a really quick theory here, my quick theory is San Francisco downtown financial district was structured as a place that everybody went to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Yep. And it got overbalanced like some other urban cores. It got overbalanced where there's literally no housing there. All the businesses are geared toward the daytime workers on the weekdays. And then every building is 100% just commercial real estate. Yep. And when COVID happened and post-COVID, it exposed the fact that you really don't want to go all in on that. You want some mixture of people who live in the neighborhoods, businesses that serve people all the time and not just 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And as a result, downtown San Francisco really kind of fell apart. And is putting itself back together. But that's the downtown core. And just like other cities like New York is talking about, how do we convert commercial real estate and can we do some residential? Because there's a housing crisis and we need more places for people to live. San Francisco also faces that. But outside of the downtown core, if you've been only to like WWDC or something or Macworld Expo back in the day, like you have not, you gotta break out of that because there's some amazing things. San Francisco is an amazing city. So that's the San Francisco Visitors Bureau appeal. And go to Angel Island. It's awesome.
Finally, an anonymous question asker wrote in and said, if Myke Rockwell actually delivers on fixing Siri, could that catapult him to the SVP level, potentially head of design, or maybe in running for the next CEO? Seems like he has the right type of opinionated stance on product that could do well. I
don't know enough about Apple internals and about Myke Rockwell.
Myke Rockwell submitted this question?
Is this you, Myke? This is what I will say. Based on everything we've heard, all the stories about Myke Rockwell over the last few years, he sounds like a star. I don't know if he's an executive star or like at one point in my career, I was asked by my boss, are you going to be like a writer and make a name for yourself as a content creator? Or are you going to willing to go into kind of like be a manager and an editor? And obviously I chose editor and then I left and became the other one instead. But so can it not be both? I do wonder sometimes about Myke Rockwell. Like, is he a John Turnus kind of a leader of large groups of people? I mean, he's obviously a leader, but like, is he that kind of executive leader? Or is he a little bit more like a Bob Mansfield type who strikes me as being more of a guy who gets things done? And I don't know. I mean, Myke Rockwell, say what you will about the Vision Pro. It sounds like Vision Pro exists because Myke Rockwell made it happen. And he seems to be a star for that reason. So if he delivers on this other stuff, like, is he going to be an SVP? Is he going to be the head of some other stuff? I mean, maybe. I think the question is, what does he want to do? And what's the best place for him to be to based on his skill level? And that I don't know. Maybe, but maybe he's so great at execution that you don't actually want him up at the SVP level. You want him on whatever hot project you want next. Yeah.
Because if he got Vision Pro done and then comes in and gets Siri done, well, if they're struggling with iPad Fold, maybe he goes in and does that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, he seems, from what limited access that we've all had to him, he seems really good, right? Based on the reports, based on what we've seen of him, he seems really great. But I don't know. Beyond that, I love the fact that he got so mad at how bad Siri was because I feel like he speaks for all of us. But where he goes from here in his career sort of depends on what he's the best at, how Apple wants to use him, what his relationship with the other people is at Apple, how they most value him, where he wants his career trajectory to go. And it's really hard to say about that. These aren't fictional characters. These are real human beings. And who knows what they want to do. But he does seem like a star regardless.
If you would like to send in your questions for us to answer in a future episode, just go to upgradefeedback.com. You can also send in your follow-up there as well. Thank you to our members who support us every week of Upgrade Plus. You can go to getupgradeplus.com and you'll get longer ad-free versions of the show each and every week. I would also like to thank our sponsors of this week's episode, Delete Me, Ecamm, and Squarespace. If you would like to find us on YouTube, you can do that. Just search for the Upgrade Podcast. We'll be back next week. Till then, say goodbye, Jason Snell.
Goodbye, Myke Hurley.